Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. We are two Google Ads freelancing professionals. We manage clients' Google Ads campaigns for a living. And this is the podcast where we talk about the work we do, talk about Google Ads, talk about strategy, talk about the business of PPC. So if you've been looking for a podcast that's exclusively focused on search engine marketing, Google Ads, and run by two professional people, you're in the right place. So thanks for joining us. This is actually our 200th episode. And Chris, it's a pleasure, as always, to be joining you here today on this show. So how's it going, Chris? How are you doing?
I am doing very well. In quarantine for over 10 years now, so I'm doing great. It's largely my normal life. Jason, how has life changed for you at all? Anything different that you would want to talk about?
No. So, Chris, we do for listeners, we do a little personal stuff on the show, just a little minuscule amount, but really it's about adding actionable advice, actionable content that you can take action on and improve your statistics, whether you want to improve your click-through rate, improve the amount of clicks you're getting, lower your cost per click, improve your conversion rate, get better tracking, know where to go when you're seeing different situations in your Google Ads accounts. That's what we've been doing for 199 episodes, and we thank you for joining us here on this 200th episode.
Congrats. We've taken a corner. Jason we didn't hear from Jimmy, which hasn't happened in a while. And Jason immediately took a personal conversation and turned it right back around to professional. I don't even know what to do. I think we're going to lose subscribers. Jason, hashtag bring Jimmy back. I'm pretty sure it's going to trend, but let's talk, since we're talking to professionals, since we're being pros, let's talk about how our listeners can go from zero to pro in a matter of a click. Guys, I'm talking about Opteo, a favorite software of the podcast, friend of the show, software that is designed to make your life as a Google Ads manager, as a freelancer, as an agency, as an in-house manager, as a business owner. No matter what box you're in, Opteo is there to help you get things done faster in Google Ads. You need help coming up with new keywords. You need help optimizing your ad copy. You need help figuring out what bids should be up, which ones should be down. You're not sure where to go to get these answers. You could hire someone to help you. You could hire an agency. You could hire outside help. You could hire someone inside your business. But guys, this is the most affordable method. Opteo is great. The pricing is great. And our special 6-week trial is even better. It's completely free. You can go to opteo.com/PSP to get a 6-week trial. This is an extended trial, only heard from here on the show. It's 2 additional weeks on top of the 4 that they give everyone else. And you can try out the software for free. Get things done faster in Google Ads. That's opteo.com/PSP. Use a little chat box. Tell them you want a 6-week extended trial. They'll give it to you. And you're going to love it, as many of our listeners already do.
Thanks, Chris. And I want to thank Kyle Solarud and Kyle Solarud's AdLeg software suite. It's more important than ever right now to maximize the efficiency of your ad campaigns. If you or your clients are looking to scale back on your ad spend, there's a tool that can help you do that without cutting out or stopping the parts of your campaign that are actually working. The tool is called Negative Keyword Pro Elite, and it's part of Kyle Solarud's AdLeg software suite. This tool links into your Google Ads account and gives you really deep insights into your search term report. So instead of just looking at one search term at a time, the Negative Keyword Pro Elite consolidates all the data for each word that appears on the report. You can see the words with the highest cost per conversion, even if those words are showing up in several different places on your search terms report. Then you can add those words as negative keywords and eliminate wasted ad spend. To see this tool in action, you can go to software.adleg.com/PSP. There's a demo video on that page so you can see how it actually works. Plus, you can try it out for yourself with a free 7-day trial. This free trial is being offered exclusively to listeners of the Paid Search Podcast, and you can sign up at software.adleg.com/PSP. Again, that's Kyle Solorod's AdLeg software suite, and we will have links to both AdLeg and also Optio in the show notes, and you guys can go start your free trials today.
Jason, we're going to dive back in, and before we do that, let me refresh people's memory about what we've been talking about. I don't know if you have a review. I'll let you jump in if you have a review. If not, then I'll just...
I love hearing from our listeners of the show this week, but Chris, I'm all about the actionable advice and content this week.
Wow.
So we're going to hold our review until next week.
Wow. Okay. Well,
but we appreciate we appreciate you leaving those reviews. And if you're ever in our neck of the woods and you're homeless and you need a place to stay, a family to love, Jason, a dinner to eat, come over. We'll host you all for just leaving that 5-star review.
It's funny coming from the man who said, what was it? He told someone if they're starving and down and out on the street, you wouldn't pass them a nickel or something. I don't know what.
I would think about helping him. Yeah.
Right.
No, that was, yeah. That was a different situation. Also a different time. Also a different time, Chris. And I was a different man. And every day I'm trying to be a better man, you know?
Wow. This is, I don't know where I am. This is the Paid Search Uplifting podcast, apparently. I don't know if I signed up for this. I don't know what to do, but let me remind you guys about what we're talking about. We're talking about the perfect Google Ads account. So we're not talking about campaign level stuff because this goes far beyond that. We're talking about your entire account. What does an entire account cover? And how do we get there? And a couple things that Jason talked about when we did this in our very first part 1 of this is he talked about this is not a one-day thing. This may not even be a 1-year thing. This is an ongoing, continuing process.
It never ends.
And we're striving. Yeah, it really does never end, although you will continue to get closer and closer to the finish. At the beginning, you start at 0. You'll continue to strive to get to 100, but you may, kind of bounce back and forth between 90 and 70 back, just as
and then they add the lead form extension and you've got a new thing to play with.
Yep. New toys, new ideas, new strategies. It's a never ending process. What we're talking about is what does it look like? What's the general strategies? What's the general ideas? We've talked about keywords. We've talked about settings. We've talked about ad groups and themes and ad extensions, and we've talked about conversion tracking, which was a really interesting conversation we had there. What we're talking about today is a whole nother realm of reaching people who've been to your website. We're talking about remarketing.
A whole new world.
And you could say that. You could say that. It's a whole new world because you're no longer reaching out to people who are searching for you or searching for a solution that you could offer an answer to. These are people who have already taken action and come to your site organically through paid ads. Some way they have ended up on a remarketing list. Jason, do you want to talk a little bit about how remarketing lists work, what they're all about, for people that may not understand remarketing?
Yeah, it's really a new fantastic point of view. There's no one to tell us no. So, Chris, remarketing is people who've, I used to say, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, and your jaw's going to drop a little. I used to say people who have been to your website and interacting with them after they've left your website, but it's really more than that because now later we're going to talk about remarketing to people who have watched your YouTube videos or been on your YouTube channel.
Oh, good point.
With display ads, that's a different thing. So the way I like to think about it is remarketing is kind of re-interacting with people who've interacted with your business properties recently or not so recently. We're going to talk about that, but yeah, it's re-engaging people who've been to your website, maybe looked at your YouTube videos within the last day up to, I think, 540 days, which I think is a year and a half. Right. If you want to do that, you can. So it's different than search like you're talking about, but you can also do it on search. I think most advertisers on Google Ads, most business owners, most in-house advertisers for their employer, even if they haven't run a remarketing campaign before, they've experienced it where they've been on someone's website or something, they've looked up a certain kind of product, and then for the next few days, they were just hit with those ads over and over when they were on other websites. I think, Chris, in terms of a perfect Google Ads account, not only do you have to have a remarketing campaign, like that's just par for the course, you have to have a remarketing strategy, a strategy. So let's kind of talk about that for a second. Remarketing, it's really comes down to you get to create your own list of people, your own list of unique identifiers, IP addresses, or however they create the remarketing list, your own unique list.
And when you say unique, that means nobody else has this list. This is unique to your campaign. That's what makes it so valuable to you.
Right.
Nobody else can tap into this.
So through Google Ads or through Google Analytics, you can segment your audience who's been to your website recently by just overall they've been to your website. You can segment them by duration, how recently they went to your website, 1 day ago up to 540 days ago. And then you can also segment them, not a lot of people do this, by the pages they looked at on your website. So if you have a commercial offering and a residential offering, you can create your own remarketing list for people who visited the commercial service page, and then your own remarketing list for people who've visited the residential page. So Chris, whether it's duration and speaking to different types of people who've been to your page 1 day ago versus 540 days ago or anywhere in between, whether it's people who have viewed different pages on your website, why don't you explain to everyone with the ad copy why we do segment a remarketing list? Like, what is the point of creating your own list? Well, it all goes to ad copy. So why don't you make that connection for people?
Right. So obviously when someone comes to the site, most of them are going to come straight through the homepage, whether they're going to come through organically or just, they've been to your site before, they're going to come through the homepage. So if you put everybody into a homepage basket and just advertise the same messaging to everyone, you're going to lose out on the impact of being able to deliver a specific message to each channel, like Jason's talking about. So let's say that you are a realtor, or you're a home builder, something like that. You might have pages where you are focusing on custom builds or builds of a certain manner, or you're a realtor where you have townhomes, and then another one where you have homes, single family residences. Each of these are very different, and a person would come through the homepage and then navigate to what they're looking for. If they're looking for a custom home builder, then they would navigate to the custom home builder. If they're looking for more of a home renovation type of thing, then they would navigate to that. And you could deliver a message about that service to that individual person, rather than just saying, we are this name, don't, blah, blah, blah. Here's a generic message. The value of delivering, here's who we are and here's why you're interested in us, is more valuable than just having a general message. So this is not hard to do. It's a one-time setup. As long as nothing breaks, you don't change your website or remove your Google Analytics code or something like that. This is a one-time thing. Unlike everything else that we've talked about, this is the one time when we could safely say this doesn't require management. I think I would go so far as to stick my neck out and say remarketing doesn't really require constant management. It's not the kind of thing where you're going to go in and optimize in the same way that you would optimize a search campaign. I mean, yes, there's things that you could tweak. You could pull your bids up or down. You can change your budget. You could exclude certain listings. But in reality, as long as you're not overbidding for your remarketing
or
underbidding, right? There's not any reason to exclude anything, unless you're having issues with budget and you just are getting tons and tons of mobile apps and it's just sucking all of your impression volume and all your bids for, some jigsaw coloring game that's just, 50% of your spend. Most of the time it's not going to happen. The Google system is smart enough not to over deliver to someone. There are caps on those impressions. So most of the time there's not a whole lot of optimization. So when it comes down to it, the perfect Google Ads campaign, this is the best news there is. It's a one-time set it up and forget it kind of thing. And unless it breaks, this is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to be able to spend a very small amount of money. Typically, most small businesses are going to have a few thousand on their list, not a ton. And then you spend 150 a month on it, maybe, depends on what your bids are, but most of the bids are going to be $1 or less. Jason may disagree with me there, but I typically don't.
Honestly, I've got some disagreements. Now, no one told me where to go or could say I'm only dreaming, but when I looked at remarketing, my eyes opened and I saw a dazzling, shining, simmering, splendid place, Chris. I have seen results with remarketing that kind of opened my eyes. And I've got some bones to pick, some points to make with what you were saying, but I just want to start with by closing that ad copy talk, Chris. I wanted to talk about some things you can do there. So, just in terms of, I'm looking at an account right now that I manage, okay, and I'm talking about remarketing, general remarketing. Users been to any page on the website, we do that. Then I'm talking about segmented remarketing. They've been to a specific service page where it's about a specific topic. Now, because the ad copy on that specific page goes to the audience who's been to that specific page and they're just tuned into it, and we can create very custom ad copy, click-through rate on the general remarketing last 60 days, 0.23%. Click-through rate on the segmented service list, 0.38.
Okay. A little better.
Yeah, quite a bit better. Now, this is very interesting. This will be crystal clear. And if you've never seen anything like this, I've got a whole new world to share with you. The conversion rate, Chris, I'm talking lead form and I'm talking phone calls, okay? Remarketing campaign, general remarketing, last 60 days. You want to guess what it is? This is for service business.
What the average CPC is?
No, conversion rate.
Conversion. Oh, goodness. Well, I would say it's going to be really low. I don't often find conversions to be a common reaction to
the one on the regular remarketing campaign is soaring, tumbling, freewheeling through an endless diamond sky. So put a guess out there, Chris, on the general remarketing, every page on the site.
0.1.
1.63.
1.6?
Yeah, 1.63.
That's surprising.
Now, Chris, why don't you guess his last 60 days on the segmented for this specific service?
Well,
this is an unbelievable sight and indescribable feeling, what you're about to get from this one. So that means it's high. So just guess.
5.2.
23.81.
No, dang. That is a whole new world.
Can you pause the recording? Because I want to do a screen share and show you, Chris, because I know you don't believe me, but I'm telling you. I'm like a shooting star. I've come so far.
I believe you.
Chris, 23.81%. Now, is that typical? No, it's not typical. It's not typical on remarketing. But I want to open up people's minds that if you really perfect Google Ads account, if you really focus on remarketing and you segment your audiences based on the pages they've been on your site, and then you create awesome messaging that when they're just on a sports website, a news website, any websites people go to that run remarketing ads,
right?
And you have an ad there that is like just so tuned into the exact service that they were looking for in the last 30 days. By the way, this campaign is on 30 days. That's a remarketing list. I've tried 60 days because I'm like
30 days.
Yeah. It can only be someone's on the list for 30 days because I've tried. I look at that conversion rate and I'm like, oh man, that's an awesome conversion rate. Let's go 60 days. Let's go 90 days and grow our remarketing audience because it's more people and get more conversions. Right. And then as soon as I do that, people aren't as hot for daddy, during that, as time goes on. And if they came to the site 60 days ago, they're just much less likely to actually have a chance at converting or even think I can even think they're going to do business with this company because it's been 60 days
even
versus
remember
30. Yeah, even remember they were
why
on
they
there.
even
That's a great
looked you
point.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've tried to go more than 30. Hasn't clicked for this exact business. But because the messaging when they're on other sites is so tuned into the exact page they went to, it's like they wanted that service so bad because it was a very niche thing to search for. They search for it, they come to the page, and then they see an ad and they're like, oh man, let me just, I'll connect with this company. So that's the kind of things you can do. Now, in terms of conversion rate, just quickly, Chris, in terms of duration, think about the messaging you can do with the duration of how long someone's been on your list. Working with a hot tub company right now. So last 14 days, we have a remarketing list. The ad copy can be like, build this right now. We know you want it. Here's a deal. Let's get it done. We can get it. We can start this week. We can come out for a visit.
Hardcore push. Yeah.
540 days is the other end of the spectrum. And you can talk to people who've been on your website 1.5 years ago. And so we actually do a very small remarketing campaign with that kind of duration. A long time ago, they've been to the site, and we just have ad copy like, hey, is this the year? Ad copy that speaks to someone who maybe shopped for it a year ago, was warm, but wasn't even close to buying. And then now all of a sudden they're ready. There's a chance they might be ready to actually do it. So we can talk to people who've been, who were interested a year ago, and we can talk to that messaging like, hey, we're still around. Hey, this is the year, that kind of messaging.
This is news to me. I'm actually unfamiliar on how to segment based on the time of how long someone's been on your remarketing list. So you're telling me there's a way to do that. I'm unfamiliar with that.
Chris, it's new to me. So, it's Google Analytics. You go into Google Analytics and you put up to this many days. So up to 30 days, up to 60 days, up to 90 days.
Okay.
And we just launched this week. You can do up to 540 days. So the question becomes, and I'm working through this with a client, if we have then you name the audience, like, okay, the audience is called 540 days because it means people who've been on the site up to 540 days ago. Now the question is, how do you do that at the same time as not competing with yourself in the 30-day campaign?
You exclude your 30.
Yeah, we're working through that, like literally setting it up this week. But I like this client's idea to talk to people who've been that long ago on a site and then not spend a bunch of money for them, but just take a shot at it, because we do have them on our list. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to remove or totally minimize the more recent time periods on the 540-day campaign. Then in the other campaign, you know what I'm saying.
So what you could do is you could potentially, so let me explain the way what Jason's saying here is you create an audience. And I'm not going to get into the details about how to do all this, but I'll
call
just
it
say,
last 30 days. People who've been on your site in the last 30 days.
So you say last 30 days, you set up one last 30 days. That would be your immediate visitors within a month. And then you set up another one with a very long time period. And so you take one ad group in your remarketing campaign that is last 30 days. It only targets that audience, and that's it. Then you have another ad group that's targeting the 540 days, and it's excluding the 30 days. So you have no overlap. Am I right? Is that the way you set it up? And as far as I understand, it should work properly like that.
People who've interacted with your business. Yeah, you can do a negative 90% bid adjustment on one of the or multiple audiences, and then have that one audience without a bid adjustment and kind of force the traffic to that.
Well, you can exclude.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm also with audiences. You do your targeting audience, say people who've been on the site in the last, let's simplify the example, the last 60 days, people who've been on your site in the last 60 days, 60-day audience. That's that campaign or that ad group, whatever you want to do it. That's a whole nother discussion, but within that ad group, 60 days. Okay. That's your targeting. Then you go to exclusions and you go to add audience exclusions to that exclude from ad group. If you're doing it at the ad group level, you go to browse, you go to how they've interacted with your business. Then you exclude the 30-day remarketing audience. And so what that does is it tells you, okay, we're going to target people who've been to your website within the last 60 days. And we're going to exclude people who've been to your website within the last 30 days. So we're going to force it to show people who've been to your website between 30 and 60 days ago
60 days.
and show them a dazzling place they never knew or they thought they never knew. So, Chris, these are the kind of things you can do. Now, is it worth for a moving company to target someone 540 days ago and do all the exclusions to get a $500 move and people move within 30 days and so they're not even moving anymore? Of course it's not. But if someone's selling like if they're a home builder and they're selling a $350,000 homes, and maybe someone didn't actually go through with the process last year and this year they are. If someone's selling $8,000 pools or hot tubs, it can be worth it to play around with audiences in terms of how long ago. And you don't have to go 540 days. You can play around with 90 days, 60 days, 180 days. But those are some of the kind of just one more on remarketing differences. How about ages, Chris? How about talking to, I know this isn't the best example because of the medical and maybe not being able to remarketing it, but just for the hypothetical in-home care, if someone is above the age of 55, you can speak directly to them, or above the age of 65 even, and say, we provide quality in-home care. You're not going to find a better company. You deserve it. You can take this step. It's okay. This will improve your life. And then for their adult children, age 35 to 54, or age 35 to 45, 55, whatever, you can say, perfect company for mom, perfect company for dad. We're here to help you with your elderly parents. And you can do it that way.
Breaking it up.
You can do your remarketing and then do your age demographics inside the ad groups.
So, yeah. Okay, so you're layering the audiences plus demographic exclusions to only show to certain people that are within
probably by I think you can do it by ad group with the. So, I mean, we're going to cut it off there and move on, but that's how deep the thing can go. And like the results I showed you, those are atypical. Those are not common. 23% lead conversion rate from a segmented remarketing list, but that's the power of it. That's the possibility.
So I would say, from what you've put forward, I would say that there's definitely some level up of optimization that you can do here. So that's really interesting. That's a good point. There was a lot there. So now talk to me, because I feel like we might disagree with some of this. Talk to me about display impression share.
No, we're not going to disagree because I learned from you last week, Chris. It's not display impression share being 100%. And my original theory for perfection was if you're running a campaign and it's getting good results, your impression share should be 100%. But of course, you talked me through it, and I learned from the great master, and it's just an honor and a pleasure to be able to do this podcast with you every week. But it's not about the overall impression share. It's about impression share lost due to budget being 0%. So the point is, if you're running a remarketing campaign and you're getting good results, you're getting conversions, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, you're liking the activity you see on your website from your remarketing list, in a Google Ads perfect account, like how do we grow, how do we get more business, it's going towards perfection. Your display impression share, that's its own column, display impression share lost due to budget, should be 0%. You should be spending as much as you possibly can, as much as there is volume for, if you can afford it as a company, because you should be getting a good return. You should be spending as much as you can at the bidding level that makes sense for your company. So if you're bidding and you're getting the right kind of cost per traffic or cost per conversion, then just spend more budget at that bidding level. And the goal should be to prove that you're getting a return on your ad spend, conversion tracking with values, and then spend the total amount possible if you can afford it, and get your loss due to budget, display impression share loss due to budget down to 0%. That's a perfect world. I don't think, tell me, Princess, how can you disagree with that?
Yeah. I don't. I think if people say, well, I don't want to spend any more, but I'm still losing traffic due to running out of budget, the answer is lower your bids. That's what it's going to. If you have enough audience that you're spending more than $10 a day, and you just can't see yourself spending more than that, you have a very large audience, then you are going to need to pull your bids down. That's going to be the answer there, so that you can move all of your lost impression share over to bids and away from budget. I totally agree. This is very much a throttling solution where you just
Yep.
move and shift your burden from one to the other. And it's not it's not an issue that requires any more than just changing, one number in
Yeah,
your
you got to chase
phone.
them anywhere. There's time to spare.
Yeah.
Let me share this whole new world with you. So, Chris, let's talk about ad testing. Then let's talk about conversions. I think part of a perfect remarketing campaign in a perfect Google Ads account is continual ad testing based on
Okay.
click-through rate results and based on conversion results. Now, I'm not happy here, Chris.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think you got to
All
do
right.
this. You got to do continual ad testing. Doesn't have to be every week. You can let it build a bunch of data. It can be quarterly. It can be monthly, however you want to do it. Now, here's the difficult part about testing ads on a remarketing campaign. Whether you do images, just pure upload images, display images,
Okay.
that
Right.
takes resources to get those done.
Yeah.
Either it's an employee using their time or a contractor or something. It takes time and resources to get those done well. But if you make responsive ads, testing out different images and Google combines them with text you put in there, that also, I find that somewhat frustrating to test, Chris, because there's so many parts of a responsive ad where you put in like 5 headlines, 5 descriptions or whatever.
The images.
The images, sometimes videos, you can put in videos it's like, how do we differentiate like the first ad versus second when there's maybe 20 moving parts to each ad?
Right.
That's tough. So I'm not
There's a lot of variation.
Yeah. It's not like first text ad versus second, change the headline. It's done. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I spend the most time doing this. I'm realistic about it. But in a perfect Google Ads account, have some kind of testing. Like get your winning responsive display ad, run it, and then get like maybe once a month or once a quarter, just throw in a second one with like different messaging. See how it performs. But Chris, I'll tell you, it's the steroids that I found with display. What I mean by that is search results. When you have a winning search ad, you have a winning search ad and beat it. You try new ads and they're like not as good. And you're like, okay, why am I running these when I have a perfect search ad working and it's hard to beat the winner? You do that with search. And then display is that on steroids. I have found once I get a winning responsive display ad, it's like really hard to beat it. And then very careful with making sure you have enough impressions to actually judge the performance on, because it gets up into the thousands and tens of thousands pretty quickly. So continual ad testing, it's a good thing to do, but it's not like a daily thing at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, guys, when it comes down to it, I would say if you're willing to invest the time and the resources, like Jason said, I think your best results will come in this order. My top preference on ads for remarketing will come in the form of HTML5. I think those are some of the snappiest, best looking ads. They work really well. They load quickly. They can have moving elements to them. They're very flashy, but they require, a specialist to put them together. You can't just have anybody putting them together. So HTML5 ads are great. Next, we're going to move to GIFs and JPEGs. Custom GIFs and JPEGs are going to be really nice.
This guy, for a guy who I won't even say it, but Chris, I mean, this is going back to your old days as a little graphic designer boy. Like, let it go,
Yeah.
brother. Like,
I just say, just so people wonder, like, well, what should I do? And then last, I would say, underneath the static JPEG is going to be the responsive search ad. I mean, that's the standard what most people do. But
that's where I'm getting my 23% conversion rate. I like responsive display because you change the messaging on a dime. It's easy, for an AdWords manager.
It is easy, but I think for me, Jason, you're measuring conversion rate for the success of your remarketing ad. I'm not measuring conversion rate. I'm looking at click-through rate.
Yeah, click-through rate.
It's click-through rate and messaging. So how when the success of a remarketing campaign in the ad copy is going to be in the click-through rate, and so that's what I'm looking at. So HTML5 are the snappiest, and then we move down from there. The very bottom would be responsive, just because the customization isn't there. There's a lot of white space. There's a lot of inability to control details. So if you're looking to invest the most, start at the top.
You know what I'd be doing if like you were listening today and trying to get remarketing going? I'd go boom, display responsive and text, and then the images you can pull from your website, or even
right. It's
the
easy, immediate.
even the stock images that you get access to. Just do it and start running. Get your messaging out there.
Yeah,
you can do it. Yeah, it doesn't take any resources. And then
Jason,
as time goes on, you can invest in images and stuff like that.
You know how long it takes people to update their website or their landing page? It takes just as long for people to make decisions on branding graphic ads. It's it's crazy because there's so many details to make, but a responsive ad can be done just like you said, instantly.
One time I put myself in the middle there between an advertiser and the graphic designer, and I almost quit the business, Chris. Like, we would not be here today. It was horrible.
Oh my gosh, I am unable to count on one hand, two hands, on every finger and toe, how many times I've heard from clients say, hey, we're looking to hire you to do our Google ads. Let me just finish my new website and I'll get back to you. It's going to be done next month. 6 months, 1 year, 2 years later, they're like crawling back up to me. They've lost 40 pounds. They look exhausted. They're bald. They look horrible. And they're like, I just finished my website. Can we get started? And I'm like, hey, remember that custom landing page that was going to be focused on the service? Where is that? Yeah. They're like, oh, I forgot about that. Let me put a landing page together real quick for that.
It's just a sign of if you don't have a website, it's a sign of a business issue. And you're not ready to advertise. You're just literally not ready. You don't have a website. So you got to wait till you have one. So Chris, let's talk about conversions with remarketing. I think if you're running a remarketing campaign in a perfect account, you have to have some kind of conversion tracking going. Now, that can be hard conversions like lead forms, phone calls,
right,
or also soft conversions, time on site over a minute, time on site over 5 minutes, whatever you want to track, pages per visit. Chris, let me put it to you this way. Can you run, because this is going to be a question people are going to have to run into and make a decision for themselves and know where to go. Can you run a remarketing campaign that gets 0 hard conversions? That's the first part of the question. It only gets time on site, only gets pages per visit. Next question. Can you run a remarketing campaign successfully that gets 0 conversions and doesn't have conversion tracking, hard or soft? Like, is there value to remarketing if your conversions suck, is what I'm asking you.
Yes. I say absolutely. Absolutely. I run tons, and I've defended to clients that may even listen to this show, and I've defended it to them, and they've pointed out, hey, our return on ad spend for remarketing is crap. It's like the absolute, I spend a bunch of money. There's, basically I lose money all the time for remarketing. I want to turn this off, and I want to point it towards things that I don't get full impression share due to budget. I want to move the budget over to things that are obviously making me money. And I fight tooth and nail to make them stop and say, listen, I want this money in here, because everybody sees billboards. Everybody sees TV ads.
Yeah. Why do they advertise on TV if it doesn't work?
Yeah. Go ask a company, show me your return on investment. Show me your return on ad spend for your TV ad. They don't have it.
You know what they do? You know what they do? They go, hey, dummy, look at the furniture store I own. Look at the car dealership I own. Look at the customers walking in right now. Do you want me to put that on a spreadsheet for you, you little nerd? Or do you want to look at
my name?
Business empire I built?
You know my name. You know the company that I work with. You know my website. That's the investment. That's what I've done. So in the end, absolutely 0 conversions, spending hundreds of dollars a month. Absolutely. Now, if you happen to be spending thousands a month and you're not a super high spend, high volume, kind of
depends
company,
on your business. Well, they could be spending thousands on TV as well. Now, Chris, we're not saying like you can run a remarketing ad with stock images and no logo and no like messaging that makes any sense to your business. I think it's going to work.
Yeah.
You have to actually work at it and make it work. But our point is some kind of conversion tracking in a perfect Google Ads account for lead generation. You want to be doing that. But at the same time, understand why you're running remarketing generally in the first place. Build mind share, build your brand. I hear from my own clients, Chris. I go, hey, how'd you hear about me? And, or what are we doing here? We're talking to strangers on the phone. They're like, well, search for a provider for this, saw your website. And then you just kept hitting me with those remarketing ads. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'd like to do that for my own business. You're on my mind.
Yeah.
I hear that from clients. So it does work,
I
even if you
hear,
don't see conversions.
and I hear it working for clients that, that have current clients, that have current customers that say, you guys must be doing amazing. I keep seeing your ads all over the place. It's reinforcing their authority with current clients, and
Chris,
keeping
there's
them
some
in top
kind
of
of
mind. So many
persuasion
things.
tactic that's like what is on your mind. The fact that something's on your mind, in your face, the prominence of it builds up more and more and more and more. And
Value, yeah.
yeah, the value of it and the prominence, the importance of it is the word I'm looking for. Even if it's not that important, it just is something with our wiring that if you see something, it
Right.
becomes more important. So it's a big deal there. So Chris, just a couple more things with remarketing. Let's talk about search remarketing with high funnel keywords. That's kind of a Chris Schaefer strategy. That's what I always think, because you're the person who
Yeah.
introduced me to that. And then we're going to kind of close with the YouTube remarketing and the audience expansion, which I will be delighted to tell everyone about.
Oh, okay. So search remarketing is kind of, I'm going to call it a hack, but it's not anything that, I thought up. It's just a kind of a weird way of using a remarketing audience and layering it with broad keywords. So I can't tell you what episode it was, but I know we've talked about it. Look it up on our YouTube channel, but we have talked about search remarketing with high funnel keywords. And let me just break this all down real quick. So essentially the way it works is this: you set up a search campaign, and I would suggest doing this in a completely different campaign than your main low funnel, high conversion campaign. Do it in a separate one so you can have your own budget. And you put a bunch of, I'm going to say, broad keywords. And when I say broad, I mean like not modified broad, pure broad keywords. And these are, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words. If you sell custom homes, then maybe you put custom homes Atlanta, or custom homes for sale, or maybe even custom home builder, or custom
Pure broad.
homes, pure broad. Put that in there and put some moderately low bids in place. Start lower than you think and then kind of push up from there. Okay. The last step is go to your audiences on that special campaign and change your audience from observation to targeted. Make sure you're on targeted, and then add that remarketing audience to that campaign as a targeted audience. And here's what you get. You take those two, you make a delicious sandwich of people that are searching about custom homes, about homes, some kind of home search. And you're going to get clicks from the people who have been to your website, and they're going to see your ads on Google. They may not be first. They probably won't be a first at all, but you're going to get a really crappy, search impression share. That's not the point. You're going to get a really crappy click-through rate, because that's not really the point. It's more about just what can you do to possibly grab some of those people that are still actively searching for a solution and they've been to your site before. And you can nab a bunch of low-hanging fruit from people that are still doing searches about and around your industry.
Yeah, Chris, someone is on your website, and then 15 days later looking for a hot tub. Then 15 days later, they do a search like maybe hot tub comparison, hot tub price, which is like super high funnel. That's not something probably you would want to spend your search cost per clicks on exact and phrase match keywords.
Yeah.
But if they're searching for that, and they've been on your website last 14 days, last 30 days, and they might be familiar with you, then that might make it worth it. And so it's a great way to experiment not only with broad, but with high funnel, exact and phrase, and BMM, broad match modify.
That's a good point. Don't do it on a 540-day remarketing list, by the way. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Don't set up a remarketing list that's a year and a half long for this search remarketing, because a year and a half later, if they looked up a hot tub or a home builder, you're going to be you're going to get a huge audience size that way. And that's not really the point. You want something more recent,
Mhm.
maybe 14, 30 days is going to be more appropriate. So just wanted to add that.
Now, Chris, let me run a perfect Google Ads account strategy theory by you, which I have not done for my own properties. I have not done it for a client before, but it's an idea that I've developed in the last few days. In YouTube, when you have a YouTube channel, you can add a Google Analytics account number to your YouTube channel. And then inside of Google Analytics, you can get data about people who visited your YouTube channel. Now, interesting, Chris, I'm looking at the behavior in Google Analytics of a YouTube channel I manage. And on the behavior, I'm not seeing individual videos. I'm not seeing like in Google, like in analytics, when you're for a website and it's like, oh, this page, that page. I'm not seeing that. All I'm seeing is the pages of the channel homepage, the channel search page, the channel video page, the channel featured video page. And so I don't know if there's something I haven't set up correctly, or if they just don't report individual video kind of page views in Google Analytics and they only do the channel views. Maybe that's all you can get. But even if that's all you can get, I am looking at that right now. You can create your remarketing audience in analytics for your YouTube Google Analytics property that tells you people who've been on pages of your channel, not videos, but like the channel page. And then you can link Google Analytics to Google Ads like normal, and you can choose that audience. Why couldn't you? I'm pretty sure you could, because you're just linking Google Analytics to Google Ads, and you can remarket to people with display ads on all the websites wherever. People, not people who've been to your website, but people who've been to your YouTube channel pages. And so I get some people who see my videos from YouTube and they've never even seen my website. Well, it'd be just like I remarket to them once they've been to my website. Why shouldn't I be remarketing to them when they've been to my YouTube channel, quote unquote, website or page? So that's just another kind of perfect Google Ads. Like a lot of car dealerships, they've got big YouTube channels. A lot of local businesses, they've got big YouTube channels locally. And just like you create a remarketing list based on people who've been to the business website, why not create a remarketing list based on people who've been to the YouTube page and just kind of keep hammering them, you know?
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a whole, it's almost like a whole new world of opportunities when it comes to connecting your YouTube and your analytics and your Google Ads. It's a good point.
Well, Chris, this episode's been like a shooting star. We've come so far. We can't go back to where we used to be. So, Chris, why don't you tell us about Optio? I'll tell us about AdLeg, and then we will go through my favorite part of this episode, the little audience expansion, which really it's not that big a deal. It's just an expansion of the audience. We'll kind of talk about that, and then we'll close up our perfection Google Ads perfect account when it comes to remarketing episode.
Okay, guys, you need to get things done, and people ask me all the time, what are some tools? What do you like? What are some tools? We say it here almost every week. Optio is the tool to help you get things done in Google Ads. You need ideas. You need strategies. This tool is designed to give you a new look at your data, right? A lot of people like to take spreadsheets. They like to buy super expensive dashboards or have reports emailed to them every day that are, have all kinds of KPIs, and you know what they're looking for? They're looking to redistribute that data in a different way so they can see it in a new light. That's what Optio can do. They can give you the same data, Google Ads reports, but they can provide it in a new light so that you can see it in a new way, make better decisions, make more informed decisions, make decisions that you would have never considered making because you didn't even know that data was pointing you in that direction. This tool is designed to not automate, but help you make better decisions. It helps the smart people like you, like our listeners, make better decisions about Google Ads. So check them out at opteo.com/PSP.
Thanks, Chris. And I want to thank Kyle Solarud and Kyle Solarud's AdLeg software suite. You can go there now, software.adleg.com/PSP, and get a free 7-day trial. This is a special offer for listeners of our show, the Paid Search Podcast. One of the software tools is called the Negative Keyword Pro Elite. It's part of the AdLake software suite. This tool links into your Google Ads account and gives you really deep insights into your search terms report. So instead of looking at your search terms just one search term at a time, Negative Keyword Pro Elite consolidates all the data for each word that appears on the report, and then you can add those words as negative keywords and save yourself time and money. And that is at software.adlake.com/PSP. Kyle Solorod's AdLake software suite will have links in the description, and you can get your free 7-day trial that is exclusive for listeners of the Paid Search Podcast. Free 7-day trial, software.adlake.com/PSP. So Chris, one little thing with remarketing, one little small thing with remarketing. If you go to a remarketing ad groups, well, Chris, we need to settle something once and for all. I see some people manage Google Ads campaigns, and it really rubs me the wrong way when I'm looking at their window. I am a left navigation sidebar guy. I always have it pulled up. I need it pulled down and move around accounts. Where do you come down on the left navigation sidebar? Are you minimizing it generally, or do you always have it open? Do not disgust me with your answer.
I bought a larger monitor, so I would not have to be like those scrubs that had to minimize to save resolution real estate. Absolutely not. You resolution real estate scrubs? No, I don't understand you. No, I'm not with you.
Never so you always have it pulled up, just like
always expanded. Absolutely, always expanded.
How else could you move through an account if you don't have it open?
Because these people apparently are just so good, they don't need extra time to manage. They can just kind of putt around. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, good to know. I'm glad we're on the same page there. So Chris, left navigation sidebar, you're going to a remarketing campaign. When you're in the campaign on the sidebar, you click into an ad group, an individual ad group on the left navigation sidebar. Once you're in a remarketing ad group, you click in the middle gray sidebar, the tabs, audiences. When you're in your audiences, you click the blue edit button. And instead of edit audiences, you go to the next drop down, which is edit ad group targeting. And if you open that up, this really is a whole new world. It loads up and you have a blue bar at the top of your screen.
It loads up.
That loads up. Okay, so now it's loading up and it kind of gives you some details about what audiences you picked, your demographics. Chris, by the way, this is kind of a cool thing because you can do all this kind of stuff in one place. You know, that's kind of cool. You can see your demographics as well. You can see your placements. Now, there's a settings area at the bottom called targeting expansion. Increase your reach based on the positive targeting and the settings selected above. And there's a bar. You can go to off, where targeting expansion is off. And then you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots all the way over to more reach. And it says reach more users by letting Google look for high performing audiences similar to your target. Expanding reach can increase impressions, clicks, and conversions. Yes, it can. So I'm in a regular remarketing campaign, Chris, a regular remarketing ad group. I'm off right now. It says I have available impressions of 50K. I'm going to do the first level.
Boom.
The first level says 50K. Wow. That would make sense to me because as you described to me, we think the default is to be left on the setting of 1.
Yeah, it is.
So I have not, in a lot of campaigns, noticed any issues when it's set on 1.
I'm looking at audiences. I'm looking at audiences that have up to like 300,000 people in them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Really?
When I move,
actual users?
Yeah. Actual users, 300,000. Hey,
wow.
I mean, Jason.
Are you flexing on me right now? Can you actually give me a flex if you're going to flex?
A little. I'm flexing a little, guys. Okay. Every now and then, I bust my t-shirt out and rip my I popped that first level and it says 70K more impressions on it.
Okay. Well, let's do it together. My audience, is, this one is about, let me think here. I think it's maybe like 3,000 to 5,000 people on average. So it's a little bit smaller, some would say.
A little bit smaller.
But yeah, so let's go up each level. So you're starting at 300K. I'm starting at 5. We'll round up. And my first level to go to level 1 says I'm still at 50K impressions. And yours goes from what to what?
from 0 to 70.
No. In the oh no, I'm sorry. I was looking at a different screen. Okay. So mine goes from 0 extra impressions to 5K. Oh, I was looking at something
5K.
different. So you go 70K more, I go 5K. So I double.
Mm-hmm.
But yours is a bigger number from up to 70. So then let's do number 2. I go
Number
to 20K
2,
extra impressions.
I go 220,000 impressions.
That's weekly, by the way.
And this is weekly, yeah.
And that's extra impressions?
Extra impressions on top, yeah. Because it said my total impression should have been, with no adjustment at all, it says it should have been close to like 650.
Yeah.
But when I pop 2 levels on the targeting expansion, it takes me up to like 870.
Yeah, mine goes from 50 to 70K impressions you should get. Okay, so now we're at level 3. Mine goes 30K extra impressions, and I'm at a total of 80.
Yeah. The speed starts to kind of even out a bit, because I feel like 1 and 2 are huge jumps, but 3 and 4 are not quite as big. I go from 220 to 410.
That's a lot.
So it's, I mean, it doubles, almost doubles. But
okay, so I'm going to scroll all the way up to more reach, and basically it says I get an extra 90,000 impressions per week. I go from 50 to 130K impressions a week. That's our estimate. What's yours?
I started off at the very bottom, turn off targeting expansion.
Yeah.
I turn it off and I get 650,000 a week. If I go all the way up and max that thing out, I go to 1.8 million a week.
So you basically triple your impressions. Wow. Now, Chris, the reason this was on my radar is you said we think this defaults to level 1, and not off, but level 1 by default. That's where we think it defaults to. I was not noticing any problems. I thought I was running pure remarketing. It was pure remarketing performance. That's the way it looked. However, on some various different accounts, all of a sudden we saw our impressions spike, like ridiculous spikes, Chris. And that got me on this whole path to see that this was a thing going on. And my thing now is I turn this to off. And I see how I perform with targeting expansion off. And if I ever want more, I can play around with getting more. But I like knowing that remarketing, because all the things we talked about today, how weird and freaky we're getting with our strategies, because we know we're protected with that remarketing, and it is who we think it is, the audience. Because I'm going on such a limb with some of these strategies, I really want to know that my remarketing audience, however I set it up, is actually that remarketing audience. And I don't want to play any games or have to wonder if my strategy is not working because of an expansion. So I started off. I always go in there and set it off now. And if I want to play around with it and get more, I'll try it out going forward,
Yeah. Yep. And that's the idea. I think that's, that's the power of Google Ads, is segmentation, the ability of being able to control each entity separately. And there are tools in Google Ads that will help you just mix things and simplify things by pushing them and, doing what could be done in 2 campaigns, doing it in 1. But in reality, if you're looking for the perfect Google Ads campaign, you're looking for, really optimizing and controlling things. I don't think targeting expansion is a good direction to take it. So, especially
so Chris, in coming episodes, we're going to be talking about non-remarketing display on YouTube, landing pages, recommendations, Bing, and some other extra business type things. And I think we might do something here, creating like an actual checklist, and we'll call it the perfect Google Ads checklist. Maybe we'll host it publicly and people can access it and just use it as a way to run their accounts through it and see how they perform. Now, I'd like you to knock that out. I'd like you to knock that out and get that done for me, Chris.
You see, that's what I thought. Yeah, you said it on the air, and then we're going to get emails and tweets and messages. Hey, man, you mentioned some checklists I can download. I'm going to say, ask Jason.
No, we'll play around with this and get something good going. So,
okay.
Yeah, so thanks for listening, everybody. That's our 200th episode. Wow, we are rolling here. We'll be back Thursday with the Q&A episode, and then join us on Patreon After Show. $2 a month or $4 a month if you want video and you want to see Chris's muscles flex. And he promises to undo that first button for us on on Patreon today. So I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait for that. I'm excited for that. I'm thrilled for that.
$2 to
And
see it.
we'll see you over on
$4 to
Patreon.
see it.
Yeah, $4
Yeah.
to see it. Just the
$4
$2
to
extra
see it.
dollars.
Yeah, $2 extra.
And if you want to
All
go
right,
from $4 down to $2 just so you can see it once and get what you need to get, I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's okay as well. So we're flexible. We're flexing and we're flexible. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on Patreon.